Hey everyone, it's Jafur, your jack of a thousand fandoms. Here, get this angle right. This is the first time I've actually done this from here. Anyway, I'm here to give you guys my review of Thor: Love and Thunder. I finally went to see it, and I gotta talk about it. There needs to be a discussion. Things need to be had, things need to be said. So, let's just go. From here on out, this is your one and only warning that there will be spoilers. There will be many spoilers. So, if you're planning on going to see the movie, go watch it, make your own opinion, formulate your own plan, and then come on back. Let's go. So, Thor: Love and Thunder. Was it a good movie? Oh, it was a movie. So, here's the thing. Thor: Love and Thunder, for me, it had some good points to it, or it had some good moments. It had, how do I explain this? Thor: Love and Thunder had all the right ingredients, but the wrong recipe. It had the right stuff to make a great movie. You know what? Let me explain to you my journey with Thor: Love and Thunder. Okay? So way back in Avengers Endgame, we ended with the Asgardians taking up refuge in this little rinky-dink town in Norway, this sleepy, hidden fishing town that they've dubbed New Asgard. I forgot what its actual name was. It was like Tokensburg or something. I don't know. But they dubbed it New Asgard. But the New Asgard was like a little tiny thing. And Thor hands the keys off. He names Valkyrie as their new king. And he goes off with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, that's interesting. We've not seen Thor go on an adventure with the Guardians of the Galaxy before. That's going to be fun to watch. That's going to be neat. It's going to be interesting to see him sparring off with bigger galactic threats. There's going to be a great reason, or because the Guardians of the Galaxy, they have a loose plot thread in the form of Aisha and Adam Warlock. So having Thor on the team to help deal with him would be a great moment. And then New Asgard, we have Valkyrie and trying to figure out her whole point and her whole place in this. So that was going to be delicious little morsels of story and character building. And then they announced that there was going to be a Thor 4, Thor: Love and Thunder, of the Trinity, the only one of the Trinity of Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man to get a fourth movie. Everybody else died or, got old and died, but not Thor. So that's going to be fun. That's going to be interesting. Let's see that. Let's dig in. But when they announced the subtitle Love and Thunder, the first thing that I thought was finally, we're going to get the villain that I'd been wanting and hoping for. The one Thor villain that's obsessed with love, Amora. Amora the Enchantress, that sneaky, snivy little witch. And it would be super interesting to make it sort of a love triangle. You know, when they announced that Natalie Portman gains the powers of Thor, she's going to be gaining the power of Thor. I was like, oh, okay, so they're going to do Jane Foster as Thor. That'll be interesting. But also, Amora, the Enchantress, is in love with Valkyrie. But make Amora just like Amora, but not like Amora. Because the thing about Amora, the Enchantress, for those of you that don't know and don't read the comics or haven't seen the cartoons or anything like that, Amora is an Asgardian witch, or magical user witch, that is in love with Thor and is constantly spurned and sidelined and curved by Thor. And she's like, but why won't you love me? I just want to be in bed with you all day, every day. Touch me, Thor. And he's like, nah. She's like, I can have any man I want. He's like, all right, go get him. I don't want you. I want either Lady Sif or Jane Foster. But Jane Foster first, then Sif. But what about me, Thor? So if you move that story from, instead of her being in love with Thor, to her being in love with Valkyrie, but also being crazy, and Valkyrie being like, nah, none of that, thank you. But her, or, you know, having her be in love with Valkyrie, but from the sidelines, almost like the way that Electro saw himself having a friend in Spider-Man in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, she's like, oh, I sent you special winks, and, you know, I made this special picnic just for us because today's your birthday. But, like, Valkyrie has no idea none of this is going on. Like, she has this whole idea and this whole relationship of the two of them in her head, but it's a secret from Valkyrie. And then once Jane gains the powers of Thor, and Valkyrie's like, oh, now I see what Thor saw in you, Jane. Hello, Jane. And Jane is just sort of like, you know, I'm sort of picking up this vibe, Valkyrie. Now that those two are vibing, or, you know, just seeing that Valkyrie's taking an interest in Jane, that sets Amora off. And that sets Amora to do ridiculous junk to New Asgard and the city surrounding, you know, just starting all sorts of magical mayhem that threatens not only New Asgard, but later on the bigger, you know, whatever madness she releases in order to undo and be rid of Jane Foster, aka the competition. That plays well to this sort of new setup of Phase 4, because Phase 4 really is just restarting. We are in a new Phase 1, so to speak. So we have to introduce new characters, introduce new concepts, and play things closer to the chest. It's time for more stories of more close to the chest, character-driven stories, rather than big save the world epics. So yeah, that's what I thought we were going to get. But no. Then they announced that we were going to get Gore the God Butcher. Gore the God Butcher. I didn't want to know anything else. I was like, you know what? I'd stayed away from it because the way I am with Marvel movies and Marvel series is I don't like to know anything outside of when the release date is, because I'll start forming a plot line or a story or whatever, because I know so much of the comics, and I'm like, oh, they could go in this direction. And when they don't go in that direction, it makes me upset, because I'm like, the story is so much weaker now. Why you not do? Which is exactly what happened with Thor and Love and Thunder. So, how the story goes in Love and Thunder, Gore the God Butcher starts off. And, well, he's not the God Butcher yet. He's just some dude in the desert with his daughter, and they're wandering through the desert, and it's hot, and they have no food, no water, and they're constantly praying to their deity guy that's like, whose necklace is around their necks. His daughter dies, he's sad, he meets and after he dies, or after she dies, this like oasis pops up. And he's like, oh, how convenient. So he goes to the oasis, and in the oasis is the god that they pray to, along with his like flower nymph beesies. And he's like, oh, well, where were you when I was praying to you? He's like, oh, great. He's one of mine. Ugh. And basically the dude is a big dick. He's a big like douche, and laughs in Gore's face, treats him like, his life is worthless and meaningless, and basically tells him there is no eternal reward, there is no heaven, there is no, reward for worshiping me. You all just made that up, and whatever, you guys suck. That makes him upset, and the Necro sword, which, was just lying right there, wills itself into his hand like it's the fucking sword of Gryffindor, and he just kills the god guy, whomever he was supposed to be. And then from then on, he just decides, oh, I guess I'll just kill all the gods, whomever they may be. Thus begins the epic off-screen adventures of Gore the God Butcher, because we will never see him actually kill another god for the entire movie. Not one. So he's out there killing people. And Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy catch wind of this. Thor goes off to, we have one adventure with him in the Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's not really. It's just him just sort of catching us up. Oh, I got skinny again. Oh, also it's narrated by Korg, because of course it does. Korg is the joke that increasingly gets less funny the more you see it. Like in Thor Ragnarok, he was alright, he was pretty fun. And then in Infinity War and Endgame, and then afterwards, just stop. He's not funny. I know it's Taika Waititi. I know it is. I know he's the director. I know he's a very gracious comedic director, but it's not funny. Not to me. It stopped being funny. So anyway, Gore finds his way to New Asgard, and he goes there with the intention of just kidnapping all their kids. Why? Why New Asgard? Oh, because I heard that's where, new gods are going to be. It's where the Asgardians are. How about, what? Also, New Asgard is now a booming tourist trap with an ill-fitting Infinity Cones ice cream shop. That's right. The Infinity Cones. You know, first of all, like, how does everybody know about Thanos? I guess, okay. There's some in universe thing where, like, certain Avengers or members that were present, like Ant-Man or whatever, had like a podcast where they talked about it. But like, it's a podcast. Not everybody listens to those. Not everybody knows everything about everything that happens in a podcast. Like, I don't understand the world building in Phase 4 is so weak, and it bothers me so bad. So bad. You have no... In Phase 1 and Phase 2, they were so meticulous about the world building, and so they wanted to make sure that everything made sense. They wanted to make sure everything was grounded in reality. So when, something happens in one movie, everybody doesn't automatically know it. If Captain America fights Bucky in the Winter Soldier, like, I don't know, Thor won't know about it when they meet up in the Avengers. Like, who's that guy? Or, if he fights Bucky and learns, oh, it's a Winter Soldier. When Spider-Man fights him later on, he won't be like, hey, aren't you that guy that Captain America fought? No. There's no way you would know that. There's no way you should know that. And that's how I feel like the world should mostly be oblivious to these superheroic things. Like, yeah, superpowers are a big thing, and it's big spectacles and stuff, all like big fights like Sokovia and the alien attack on New York, and the other alien attack on New York where like Ebony Maw and Black Dwarf showed up. But like, when Thanos attacked Wakanda, no one should be aware of that, because no one's aware of Wakanda to begin with. Like, nobody just knows Wakanda. When Thanos attacked the Avengers compound in Endgame, when he smashed through the time portal and blew up the building and all the superheroes came out of the portals, nobody else was there. They act like there was a news crew and just mad footage. Nobody else was there. The only footage you probably could have gotten was like body cams that were on Iron Man, War Machine, and Rescue. Like, that's it. Nobody else would have any sort of recordings or anything that you could be like, oh yeah, this person was there, that person was there, this person did that, this person did that. It was a really cool thing. And no one would have enough cognitive, like it was a mess. It was a whole freaking war. People were fighting left, right, and center. So for someone like Ant-Man to just be like, oh yeah, I have total recollection of everything that went down. Here's who was there, here's all the names, and here's what everybody did. There's no way your giant man ass knew and saw all of that. let alone described it enough for people to be like, oh yeah, I love Groot. I love Drax the Destroyer. I love Captain America or Captain Marvel. Who are those people? They shouldn't be. First of all, this is sort of bleeding into Ms. Marvel. I'm going to talk about her later in a different video. Back to Thor. But also, in that sense of realism, way back in the first Thor, when Loki was like, oh, they should be bowing down to us, we're gods, and I need to be worshipped like that, Odin was quick to correct him and say, we are not gods. We are people that live and breathe and die just like everyone else. And that solidified it. That was like, okay, they're not gods. They're just really resilient aliens from an alien planet or, alien realm. That grounded it. That made it more realistic. That made it more believable. That you could wrap your head around it. Okay, they're not gods. They're aliens. Got it. But then phase 4 comes around and they're just like, the writing is more like, you guys are used to magic and crazy junk by now, so whatever. Here's Egyptian gods and just gods. Do we explain it? Nah, don't have to. Magic. We'll have to explain anything else. You guys, you know the gist. You know. No. You can't do that. Because it's a different version. If it's a different version in a different universe, you have to set up the rules and stay consistent with the rules in that universe. And the MCU has gone by different universal rules from the comic books, which I've enjoyed. I like seeing, different takes on the comic book lore, and especially when it makes it more finite, when it makes it more, I guess, real. But now, back to Gore, going to get gods, going to New Asgard, kidnapping kids, because who the fuck, what, why not? And he has shadow creatures that, his powers extend from shadows, like he's Shikamaru Nara. But also, he can just summon shadow creatures, because that's what the sword does, apparently. And his goal is to steal kids and show the kids that their heritage as gods